So here's what happened. I had just parked the car and stepped out when I heard a familiar voice behind me. It was Brandon, my husband, or at least, he was still technically my husband at that point. He hadn't been home much lately, and it honestly felt like we were just living two separate lives. He walked over with this smug look on his face, glancing at the shiny car behind me. "Ah, I see, a gift from your parents, right?" I didn't answer right away. I was stunned. Every time I faced Brandon lately, I felt small, like my words didn't matter, but this time, something inside me was tired of feeling like that. "Brandon, don't you care anymore? Do you even care about me at all?" I asked, forcing the words out. He looked straight at me and said something that knocked the air out of my lungs. "Are you just realizing that now? Did you really think I loved you all this time? It's ridiculous how hopeful you are." He let out this dry, humorless laugh. I stood there frozen, hearing those words echo in my head. Then something inside me just snapped. "Then why did you even marry me?" I blurted out, louder than I meant to. Brandon shrugged, acting like this whole conversation was boring him. "Wow, really? You're going to be that dramatic about it?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So marrying me was just a meal ticket to you, huh? And now you want the car too, because you think it's wasted on me? That's just great." He didn't even flinch. He didn't care how much those words hurt, and then he threw out one last thing before walking off. "You know we're getting divorced, right? Without me, you'll never find another man, so think about that." And just like that, he walked away. I sat in the driver's seat after that, trying to calm my racing heart and stop the headache pounding behind my eyes. I didn't cry, not yet. I just sat there, frozen in place, until I finally picked up my phone and called Aunt Ellen. I needed someone who would understand. I needed her advice. A few days later, I agreed to the divorce. I moved back in with my parents, and they welcomed me with open arms. For the first time in a long while, I felt something like peace. I started to breathe again. But of course, that peace didn't last. One afternoon, Brandon showed up at my parents' house, with his parents. They all sat stiffly in the living room, and his father spoke first with a stern voice. "We're here to talk about our son's divorce. It's urgent." Then he launched into this long speech, accusing me of being manipulative. He claimed I had threatened Brandon, saying I'd use my family's university connections to ruin his future, that I was trying to intimidate him, that I wasn't as innocent as I looked. "Behind that plain appearance, she's actually a greedy and mean woman," his father said. They even suggested that I had been unfaithful and paid Brandon to stay away, that maybe I had someone else already, and then they made a suggestion. "If Margaretta gives up the car, that might help smooth things over," his mother added. I sat there stunned, listening to them spin lies about me. Brandon just sat there, silent, letting his parents speak for him. He didn't say a word in my defense. Then the doorbell rang. My mom answered it, and a moment later, Aunt Ellen walked into the living room. "Sorry I'm late," she said with a calm smile. "How's the discussion going?" Brandon's family looked annoyed. His mother scoffed. "What are you doing here? Outsiders should leave. This is a family matter." Ellen didn't budge. "I'm no outsider. I was informed by my brother, Margaretta's father. I couldn't miss something this important." His mother snapped. "You're just here for the drama or maybe for money." But Ellen simply opened her bag and laid out a thick stack of documents on the table. "I hired a private detective," she said. "Brandon has been cheating on Margaretta with multiple women. He's hardly ever home. He's taken her money. These are the reports." Brandon jumped up. "That's ridiculous. I was just busy with university research. We had dinner together, went on trips, we were just like any other couple. Margaretta, tell them." I stayed quiet. Then his father stepped in to protect him again. "It's not your fault, son. These documents are probably fake. Our Brandon would never cheat." But Ellen wasn't done. "You might be kind to your parents, but that kindness stops there," she said coldly. "And now, Mrs. Brandon's mom, take a look at these photos." She pulled out one more picture and handed it over. "I recently stayed at a hotel for work. I saw Nicholas, your husband, with another woman, looking quite cozy, so I had the detective look into him, too." Brandon's mother, Veronica, went pale. She snatched the papers and stared at them in disbelief. "Nicholas, how long has this been going on? Tell me these are lies." Nicholas panicked and tried to take the documents away, but it was too late. "You've been cheating on me too? That car you wanted, It was for her, wasn't it? She broke down in tears and stormed out of the house, with Nicholas running after her. Brandon looked stunned. Hey, wait, what about me? He ran after them. The rest of us were left sitting in stunned silence, except Ellen. She looked almost satisfied, gave me a wink, and said nothing more. Later, she told me that Brandon's parents ended up getting divorced too. She smiled and told me, "You won't fall for someone like him again. I'm going to teach you everything, how to take care of yourself, how to be confident, how to glow." And she did, even with her busy life. She visited often. We went shopping, to nice cafes, to salons. She helped me rebuild myself. She reminded me that I was more than someone's wife, I was a whole person. About a year later, I decided to go to grad school. I worked hard and focused on my future. I started to feel stronger, more myself. One day, I was walking down the street when I heard someone call my name. I turned around, and there was Brandon. He looked different, worn down, not the confident man I had married. He looked at me, surprised. "You've changed a lot." In his eyes, I wasn't the quiet, plain ex-wife anymore. I was someone new, someone he couldn't recognize. Brandon had fallen on hard times. His parents' scandal had hurt his reputation. They'd stopped supporting him. He'd dropped out of grad school. The girls who used to chase him had disappeared. He'd lost everything. And now, he was standing there, face to face with the woman he threw away. Just then, Leonard, my boyfriend, walked up beside me, tall, handsome, warm. He smiled and said, "Sorry for the wait. Is this a friend of yours?" I smiled at Leonard. "He's just someone from the past. We're done talking." Leonard nodded, took my hand, and we walked away together. I didn't look back. Not once. It happened on a cloudy afternoon. I had just parked my car and stepped out when I heard someone behind me. I turned slowly and saw Brandon, my husband, but he hadn't really been acting like a husband in a long time. He barely came home anymore. We hardly talked. It felt like we were just two strangers living separate lives. When I looked at him, I didn't even feel close to him anymore. He stared at the car and gave a smug little smile, like he was mocking me. "Oh, I see, a gift from your parents, huh?" he said, in that cold, sarcastic voice of his. I stood there, not sure what to say. My hands felt cold even though it was warm outside. Every time I had to face Brandon, I struggled to speak. He made me feel small, like my feelings didn't matter. But I was tired of staying quiet. I was tired of pretending everything was okay when it clearly wasn't. "Brandon," I said, my voice shaking a little, "don't you care anymore? Do you even care about me at all?" He just looked at me and said something that felt like a knife to my chest. "Are you just realizing now? Did you really think I loved you this whole time? You're more foolish than I thought." Then he laughed. It was a dry, mean laugh, like I was some kind of joke to him. My heart dropped, and my eyes started to burn. But I didn't cry. I couldn't, not in front of him. Something inside me snapped. "Then why did you marry me?" I shouted. "Wow, really? You're going to be that cold and heartless?" I could hardly believe this was the man I had married. "So you married me just for convenience, just because of who my family is, and now you want this car too, because you think I don't deserve it?" Brandon didn't deny any of it. He didn't care how much it hurt. He looked right at me and said something even worse. "You know we're getting divorced, right? And after that, no one else will want you. You should think about that." And with those cruel words, he turned and walked away like I was nothing. I stood there frozen, my whole body shaking. I got into the driver's seat, closed the door, and just sat there. My head was pounding, and I felt sick. My chest hurt so badly, like my heart was being crushed. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I just sat there in silence. After a while, I picked up my phone and called Aunt Ellen. I didn't even know what I wanted to say. I just needed someone who cared. I needed her voice. A few days later, I agreed to the divorce. I moved back in with my parents. They welcomed me home without any judgment, just love and kindness. For the first time in a long time, I felt safe. I started to heal. But that peace didn't last long. One afternoon, Brandon came to our house, with his parents. They all sat in our living room, acting serious, like they were about to fix something important. Brandon's father looked at me and said, "We're here to talk about our son's divorce. It's urgent." Then he started blaming me for everything. He said that when Brandon refused the divorce at first, I had threatened him. He claimed I told Brandon I'd use my family's university connections to ruin his future, and then he said something even more insulting. Brandon truly loved Margaretta, but her behavior was harsh, even cruel. She tried to scare him. She's not as innocent as she looks, she's actually greedy and mean. We even heard she paid Brandon to stay away so she could see other men. Then his mother added in, if Margaretta gives up that car, maybe it'll calm things down. I just sat there, listening in shock. My ex-husband, Brandon, stayed completely silent, letting his parents accuse me of things that weren't true. He didn't speak up. He didn't defend me, not once. Then, the doorbell rang. My mom went to answer it, and a few seconds later, Aunt Ellen walked into the room. Sorry I'm late, she said, smiling calmly. How's the discussion going? Brandon's mother frowned right away. Why are you here? This is a private matter. Outsiders should leave. But Aunt Ellen didn't back down. She smiled and said, oh no, I'm not an outsider. I was told about this meeting by my brother, Margaretta's father. I wouldn't miss it for the world. You're just here to cause trouble, Brandon's mother snapped. Ellen reached into her bag and pulled out a stack of papers. She laid them down on the table. I hired a private detective, she said clearly, and this is what I found. Brandon has been cheating on Margaretta with multiple women. Even while they were married, he hardly came home. He used her for money. Brandon stood up suddenly. That's a lie. I was just busy with my university work. We still had dinners together. We even traveled. Right, Margaretta? Say something. But I said nothing, because there was nothing left to say. Brandon's father tried to cover for him. It's not his fault. These papers are probably fake. Our Brandon would never do something like that. His mother added, yes, Brandon is a wonderful son. He would never cheat. Ellen looked them both in the eyes. He might treat you well, but that kindness ends with you. And sadly, he's not the only one. She pulled out another photo. This, she said, handing it to Brandon's mother, is a picture I took while I was at a hotel for work. That's Nicholas, your husband, having a very cozy dinner with another woman. I had the detective check on him too. Veronica, Brandon's mother, went pale as she looked at the photo. Nicholas, what is this? Tell me it's not true. Nicholas panicked and tried to grab the photo from her hands, but she wouldn't let go. You've been cheating on me too? Is that why you wanted that car so badly? It was for her? Veronica stood up, shaking, tears in her eyes. I can't believe this. She stormed out of the house, crying, and Nicholas chased after her. Brandon stared at the door, confused. Wait, what about me? He ran out after them, and just like that, they were gone. Ellen turned to me, calm and collected, and winked. Later, she told me that Brandon's parents got divorced not long after that. She took me shopping the next day. You're never falling for someone like him again, she said. Let's help you shine, my dear. She kept her promise. Even though she was busy with her job, she came to visit me often. She took me to nice restaurants and cute cafes. She taught me how to dress better, how to walk with confidence, how to speak up, and how to believe in myself. I slowly changed. I felt stronger, happier, and more like myself again. About a year after the divorce, I decided to go to grad school. I worked hard, focusing on my dreams. I was no longer the woman who cried quietly in her car. Then, one day, as I crossed the street, someone called out to me. Margaretta? I turned around, and there was Brandon. He looked older, tired, not the same man I had married. He looked me up and down and said, "You've changed a lot." Yes, I had. Brandon had lost almost everything. His parents' scandal had ruined his reputation. They stopped supporting him. He had dropped out of grad school. The people who once surrounded him were gone. He was alone. And now, he was face to face with the woman he once called foolish. Before I could respond, a man came up to me. "Sorry I made you wait. Is this a friend of yours?" he asked politely. It was Leonard, my boyfriend, tall, kind, confident, the total opposite of Brandon. A group of women nearby whispered, "Wow, that guy looks like a model." I smiled and said to Brandon, "He's just someone from the past. We're done talking." Leonard took my hand and led me across the street. Brandon stood there, frozen, watching us walk away. I didn't look back. Not even once.